Somewhere on this planet right now, an animal weighing over 12,000 pounds is standing in a field of grass, and not a single person is thinking about eating it. That's strange, because humans eat almost everything else: cows, pigs, goats, sheep, even bugs in some parts of the world. We are, without question, the most flexible eaters that have ever existed on Earth. So here's a question worth sitting with. If humans will eat almost anything, why does the elephant, the single largest pile of meat walking on land, never once show up on a dinner plate? A cow is muscle and fat, so is an elephant. Both are edible. So why did one become the centerpiece of global agriculture, while the other became something almost nobody has ever tasted? Let's start with the math, because the math alone nearly settles the whole question. An adult elephant eats up to 300 pounds of vegetation a day, every single day, and drinks tens of gallons of water on top of that. Now compare that to a cow, which reaches slaughter weight in about a year on a fraction of the feed. An elephant doesn't even get born quickly. Pregnancy lasts nearly 2 years, the longest gestation period of any land animal alive. Then it takes another decade or more before the animal reaches anything close to full size. That means a farmer raising an elephant for meat would be pouring resources into one single animal for 10 years before ever seeing a return. No civilization in history could make that math work. You'd go broke waiting. A cow pays you back in a year. An elephant asks you to wait a decade first, and that alone makes the decision for most of human history. But cost was never the whole story. There's something else about elephants that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with what's happening inside their heads. Elephants recognize themselves in mirrors, one of the rare animals on the planet capable of that. They mourn. Herds have been observed standing quietly over the bones of a dead relative, touching the skull gently with their trunks for hours, sometimes returning to the same spot years later. They remember individual faces across decades. At some point, eating an animal that grazes and forgets starts to feel very different from eating an animal that grieves. And cultures across the world picked up on that difference a long time ago, long before anyone wrote it down as a rule. And then there's the very real problem of actually trying to kill one. An elephant under threat isn't a slow, gentle giant. It's one of the most dangerous animals a person could ever face. A charging elephant can hit speeds near 25 miles an hour while weighing as much as a loaded truck. It can flip a vehicle. It kills hundreds of people every year, even today, with modern firearms available. Now imagine trying that with nothing but a spear. For most of human history, hunting an elephant meant gambling your life and the lives of your best hunters for a payoff that wasn't guaranteed. Compare that to a deer or a wild pig, smaller, safer, and far less likely to end the hunt by ending you. Early humans weren't being sentimental when they avoided elephants. They were doing basic risk assessment. Why bet everything on the most dangerous animal in the region when easier meals were everywhere? Now, here's where the story gets more interesting, because the rule isn't absolute, and the exceptions actually reinforce it rather than break it. Some communities in parts of Africa have hunted elephants for meat during genuine famine, when nothing else was available. Ancient humans hunted mammoths, the elephant's extinct relative, sometimes to feed entire groups through brutal winters. But notice what these cases have in common. They happened out of desperation, not preference. Nobody built a farm around elephants. Nobody made it a dietary staple. It was always the last resort, never the first choice, which isn't a counterexample to the pattern. It's the pattern confirming itself one more time. Then culture caught up with the biology and made the whole thing official. Because elephants didn't just avoid our dinner tables. They climbed somewhere higher instead. Across huge stretches of Asia, the elephant became sacred, tied to gods, painted onto temple walls. There's an entire beloved deity with an elephant's head, ridden into battle by kings as a living symbol of power and memory. Even in the West, the elephant means something. It's the animal that never forgets. And here's the thing. You don't eat the animal you've turned into a god. You don't butcher the creature carved into your temple walls. You don't put a symbol of wisdom on a dinner plate. The same thing happened all over the world with cultures that never even spoke to each other. Different continents, different languages, different gods. Some animals are food, and some animals are something more. So, the real answer was never just one thing. It's all of it stacked on top of each other, pointing in the exact same direction. Elephants cost too much. A decade of food and water for one payoff. They're too smart. They grieve. They remember. They feel. And something in us refuses to eat that. They're too dangerous. Hunting one could cost you your life. And on top of all of that, we spent thousands of years turning them into gods, kings, and symbols instead of meals. Every one of those reasons alone might not stop us, but all of them together, that's a wall. That's why the biggest pile of meat on land is the one we almost never touch. Humans didn't sit down and vote on this. Nobody made a rule. We just noticed it over and over in every corner of the world. Some animals you eat and some animals you don't. And we built our plates around it without ever really saying it out loud. The elephant was never on the menu. And now you know exactly why. So here's my question for you. If it's not really about the meat, if it's about the mind behind it, what other animals are we protecting for the exact same reason? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if this rewired the way you look at what's on your plate, hit subscribe because the next one's going to mess with your head even more.